Hi, I'm John F. Allen. And I'm R.J. Sullivan. And we're the Two Towers.
I think that we are going to go into spoiler territory here. So, as you see on your screens, there are spoilers ahead. So, if you've not seen this film, then you probably want to break off right now. You've gotten the skinny of things up to the spoiler report parts of this film. So, at this point, turn away. Go check out the film. As RJ stated, it is easily accessible. If you have Hulu, it's already there for you. No extra fees or anything involved. Just go watch it and then come back and hear what we have to say. So, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Here we are.
All right. So, if you're here, presumably you've seen it, so you know what happens at a certain point.
Woo!
So if you're still here and you haven't seen it, well, then it's too late. The family's having a party while basically everyone snuck into the rich family's house, and they're having a drunken party while the rich family's off on a camping trip, and they're having a really good time. They think life's going pretty good for them, because life is going pretty good for them.
They're imagining themselves having married off the son, the brother, to the wealthy family's daughter, and them becoming in-laws, and the house eventually being theirs, and all this kind of stuff. And all the while they're getting drunk.
Yes.
So that's another twist on this, and but then
dun dun dun,
there's a knock at the door.
So the only person who's supposed to be there is the housekeeper. So the mom answers. I guess it was like a video door, which I don't personally have one, so I don't have any experience with that. But it's the previous housekeeper saying she needs to come back and pick something up that she had left. Which at this point I was like, uh-oh. Something bad is about to happen. So
there's something going on.
My guess at this point was that she just wanted to come in and murder the person who took her job. That's where I thought it was going.
I did too. I thought it was an elaborate sting operation. I thought once she got inside the house, then there were people outside, and they were going to come and eradicate this family or hold them hostage, or they were going to steal something out of the house that they were going to frame them for. I mean, a number of things rolled through my head, but that's not what happened.
Yeah, so I was like, don't open the door, don't. And of course she does. As I remember, the rest of the family tries to hide it first, right?
Yes, they do. Successfully so, up until the point that the former housekeeper goes and says she needs to get something out of the basement that she left there before she exited. And the current housekeeper, the mother, reluctantly lets her in and lets her go down in the basement. And as they're waiting, the rest of the family, the brother, sister, and father, are like, what is she doing down there? And, you should go check this out. And so the mother, or go ahead, I'm sorry.
I believe when you say basement, you mean, the first thing that happens is she like pulls a bookcase back, right? And reveals.
No, they had to go down to the basement first.
Oh, okay. My bad. Okay.
Yeah,
so
they go down to the basement first. And then from that point, then when they go down to the basement, after the old housekeeper's been down there for a while, then the mother, the new housekeeper, goes down to investigate. That's when she sees the old housekeeper trying to push this shelving unit away from the wall, and she's like, hey, can you help me? And the woman's like, what are you doing? And so she's helping her, and something was wedged underneath that was keeping it from sliding open. And she removed it, and then it slid open to reveal a door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it turns out like there's a whole other living quarters way down underneath the house. It almost seemed like some sort of secret tunnel or something.
It was a
where-
shelter. It was a shelter. So we should also mention that this house was designed by a renowned architect. So not only is it aesthetically beautiful and modern, but it also has a lot of features to it that are hidden or recessed, and hence this underground, because they had to go through like 2 flights of stairs to get
Yes.
down here. They're already in the basement. Then they go down 2 additional flights of stairs to get down to this sub-basement level, and
Right.
through a narrow corridor.
Yeah. So come to find out that she was keeping her husband, the old housekeeper was keeping her husband down in that room that apparently the owners of the house knew nothing about. And apparently he had been down there for several days at this point. It's not really clear how long, but she's trying to get her husband some food, and you don't know how long the previous housekeeper had been there, but she'd kept this guy down there for whatever length, I get a couple of years, right?
Well, the original house, the first housekeeper was there when the architect lived there, before this
I missed that
the
point.
new
Go ahead.
family, before the new family took up residence in the house. The original housekeeper was there when the architect lived in the house of his own design. So that's how she knew about this secret sub basement. And so that being the case, she hid her husband down there all during this time that she was employed, from the time that she was employed in the with the architect, and the time with the current wealthy family. So this was a way for them to live together or whatnot, or him to be taken care of, and, live in the same house. So this is what they did. And now you've got this being revealed to the new family, the mother, the father, brother and sister. And this is like, what in the hell's going on? You guys have been living down in this sub basement. And then the woman, who the former housekeeper, starts to explain everything. And the new housekeeper's like, I'm calling the cops. Right. And then the rest of the family, the brother, sister, and the father, they're trying to snoop to see what's going on, and they end up falling and down the stairs and revealing themselves. And so then the old housekeeper and her husband are like, what is going on? So she starts to record the fact that they're all there, and she recognizes the daughter, because the daughter was working there and the son was working there. The brother and sister were working there before she got let go. And that in and of itself was like, okay, now I see you guys have been scamming them. We've got this recorded on our phone. If you mess up, we're going to hit send, and we're going to send this to the property owners.
And then one thing leads to another. They end up hitting her on the head. She falls down the stairs, possibly has a concussion, and they lock the two of them down there. And as I recall, the family decided they were coming back early from their trip because of the rainstorm. So now there's a ticking clock where the wife has to get dinner ready as quick as possible, and they have to clean up the huge mess that they've left. And also, so a lot happens in a really tight span of time, where all of a sudden it's like, what are we going to do with the two people down there? How are we going to check on them? How much time do we have before the other family gets here? And then, of course, the other family gets there too soon. And all of the people that we're most concerned with have to hide in different places in the house and hope that they don't get found.
Right. And then you have a situation where they have them down. They have the old housekeeper and her husband down there, but the old housekeeper she escapes, and she's about to come up the stairs as they're in the kitchen. And that's when the new housekeeper, the mother, hits her, knocks her down the stairs.
Yep.
She tumbles down the stairs and is injured.
Yeah.
And then the father is able to take her all the way back through to the sub basement, tie her up, has the as he has tied up her husband, and shut the door and close it back off, so that the property owners are none the wiser. But here's the thing. So now they've got to decide what to do. And so the mother, who's the property owner, she's like, we didn't get to do the camping trip for our son, so we're going to have a big party in the backyard.
Okay. Yeah, but wait a minute. But remember the boy stays out in the backyard in the tent before.
Oh, yes. So before that, the boy decides, because he's a very rambunctious little kid. So he goes and decides, and he's obsessed with Native Americans and playing Indian. And so he's like going around and, dressed up like Native garb that you would see in cowboy movies or whatnot. And he takes this tent and goes out into the backyard as it's raining with a flashlight and walkie-talkie that his father had just bought him, and is communicating with him. Meanwhile, the father, the sister, and the brother are hiding underneath the coffee table.
Yes.
And so the little boy's parents are like, well, maybe we should sleep on the couch. Are you sure? Yeah, we can keep eyes on him or whatnot. So this makes their escape virtually impossible. Yes. And then they decide to get amorous, which is another layer of this whole thing, and which is the comedy of this, comes out. And so they're there getting, freaky or whatever, and
with people under the couch.
Right there, right. Yeah. And so, it's kind of crazy. And then from that point, that's when they fall asleep. The mother alerts them that they can escape, and they almost get caught, because as soon as the father, who was the last one to crawl out from under the table, escapes, then they go to the boy turns on the lights, and he's like, I got an emergency. I'm bored, and then the father's trying to calm him down. Eventually they go back to sleep, turn the lights back out, and the father, the sister, and the brother escape. But what they escape to is a disaster.
Yeah, and if you didn't listen to us and you ignored the spoiler warning, if that sounds a little crazy, it is, and you should go check it out, because as wild as that sounds, it plays off. It's a lot of fun. It's very tense. It's there were some things in there that were uncomfortable for sure. I thought the comment about you hear the when the couple, after they got amorous and they're talking afterwards, they talk about, have you noticed the smell off of our new help? Mm-hmm. And why am I smelling that now? And they don't know that they're sitting there under the couch. That was an uncomfortable moment for me.
Well, and then they didn't put two and two together when the little boy smelled the driver, and then he went to go smell the housekeeper and said they smell the same.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
So then the mother and father got back to their home and were like, well, maybe we're going to have to do separate laundries with separate fabric softeners and use different soaps to try and make this a non-issue. But when you talk about the living circumstances for this deprived family, they're living in what looks like a basement type of setting in Absolutely. A building, and you've got backed up sewage. They've sprayed for like bugs and stuff outside. You've got the guy who keeps urinating in front of their window. All of these factors, it's just you can imagine that there's this putrid odor this nasty odor. I mean, first of all, they have to go from street level down into this alleyway and then around and down some more to get to this house, which is, I mean, this apartment, which is around the corner between two tight spaces, and then down some stairs into a basement. So you can imagine how this smells. And it's not the best plumbing system. It's not the best sewage system. It's just very, very impoverished. And you're seeing this. And so you know that smell is pungent.
Mm-hmm. And you know, as a viewer, there's nothing they're going to be able to do about it. They can talk about doing separate laundry all they want. They can talk about changing detergents. They can try and elaborately plan out whatever. This is just something they probably didn't expect to have to deal with, and there's really no way they can get around it. I mean, anybody who's ever like gone to their grandmother's house or something knows that certain places have their own odor. They just do. And sometimes it's so much that there's just nothing you can do about it. There's no getting it out. I thought it was an interesting aspect to bring up here to more contrast the living conditions, because it's something most people don't think about, you know, because that would be something they'd very much have to contend with.
Right. And you look at the living conditions and the contrast, the destitute family.
Yes.
They live in close quarters. I mean, you have to climb up some stairs, and on a platform is where the toilet is, and it's like
because of the flooding.
Cramped, right? Because of the flooding, and it's like very, very cramped. They're on top of each other, and they've got all of this stuff. There's all of this stuff, and they're in a tight, cramped environment. The wealthy family, they're spaced out. They don't have a lot of furniture. It's very sparsely furnished, and so
the rain ruined their camping trip. Oh,
right. But that rain that ruined their camping trip, for them, has now flooded the apartment of the destitute family. So when they narrowly escape, the father, the daughter, and the son narrowly escape, they go back to their apartment to find that it is flooded, and all of their valuables, all of their possessions, all of their keepsakes have been destroyed. And they are trying to gather what they can and get out of there. And one of the things that's interesting that the brother grabs is this slab rock, which his friend who put him on to getting hired with this wealthy family gave him this rock from his family that supposed to bring prosperity or something. And the family was buying into this because of the opportunity they had to get into this wealthy family's purview and get jobs with them, even though they lied and manipulated things to get there. So it kind of was like a boomerang. It like it had an opposite effect. They were being put into a situation where they were being able to prosper, but because they made some very selfish, greedy decisions and lied and went above and beyond what was initially supposed to have been just a small manipulation, it turned into something much bigger that the effects of this stone has caused them to now endure a lot of hardships.
Yes, that's true. And of course, anybody who knows anything about fiction, you don't introduce a giant rock at the beginning of the story and not figure someone somewhere is getting hit with something. And that does happen later. But
oh God, in a big way.
Yeah. But so what I thought was interesting was you get through all that. I mean, the contrasts couldn't be more obvious. You know, that's kind of where all the symbols went out the window with the rain. Here's what they're dealing with versus what our family is dealing with. And it's just, it is so poignant in its obviousness. I mean, you know, you don't need need a degree in film studies to figure out what's trying to be told here. It's so you can't not get it, and it really hits you over the head with how far apart these people were, even though they're only apparently a short drive from each other, and yet what their concerns are from day to day, you could not be any different. So, at this point I thought, okay, so that was the big twist. We're gonna like just kind of wrap this up now. And then they had a second twist in the storyline to figure out.
Right. So you get back to where I was when they're having this party.
Yes.
Because the camping trip was ruined. The old housekeeper she wakes up, she escapes. She's about to come up and ruin everything. And the new housekeeper hits her, knocks her down the stairs. And then the father ends up, they end up tying her up and putting her down in the lower level, the sub basement with her husband. But here's the thing. They go back to try and feed them because, these people aren't horrible, despicable people. They do have a heart and they do have a conscience, even though they're doing some shady stuff. So they go back down to feed them, and they make a break for it or whatnot, and there's a struggle, and then the old housekeeper does back somersault down the stairs and hits her head, and there's blood. She's knocked out. She's had a concussion.
Right.
And her husband is tied up, and he's gagged, and he can't, say anything or move or help her or whatnot. As the party's going on and all the other family members there are trying to assume their roles as driver, tutors, or whatnot, because the mother of the wealthy family invites them all to this party and insists that they come. And so now they've got to come. And so you've got the father, the sister, and the brother who had escaped the night before and had to sleep in a big shelter for the people who were displaced from the flooding, are invited somewhere. So they've got to go and get cleaned up and in new clothes, or, in clean clothes, what they could find, and get there to the party. And they asked about the dress code because, what they had to wear, what they had access to was slim pickings. So they went there. And she's like, and the mother from the wealthy family was like, no, you can wear sweatpants. And how convenient that was for them that it wasn't anything formal. So they went ahead and were able to come to the party. And as this is going on, the old housekeeper is laying there. She can't see. This head injury she's dying. And she's talking to her husband, and she's saying, she pushed me down the stairs. Remember her name? And she said that she couldn't see, and that she was going away. And then the next thing you know, she's dead. Well, later on, when the brother comes to the party and he's there with the wealthy family's daughter, and he's talking to her, and she knows that he's distracted, and he's trying to, reconcile his feelings about the whole thing. He goes back down into the sub basement with the rock, with the slab that his friend had given him.
He brought the rock with him, so we know that at some point he had psyched himself up to kind of cross a serious line.
Right. And so he goes down and he drops the rock. And he's like trying to get down the stairs, and he's about to pick the rock up. He picks the rock up, and then he's going down the hallway because he sees the old housekeeper laying there, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And unbeknownst to him, her husband had gotten loose, and he put like a rope around his neck and was pulling him and was basically trying to kill him because the whole thing of it was his wife was dead now, and he was seeing red because these people had to die. You took away the only thing that I had in my life, which was my wife, and now I'm going to kill you all. Mm-hmm. So The brother tries to get away. As he's got this rope, this cord around his neck, and it's got like a pole on the end of it, like a short, pole or some sort. And he's trying to get away. He gets up the stairs. He evades the dead woman's husband's blows, who has the rock now because he struggled and the rock has come loose. So he gets up the stairs. He's trying to make a break for it. He is caught by the husband on this cord. He falls flat on his back. The husband comes up with the rock and smashes the brother in the head. Gets angry, looks at him again, takes the rock, picks it up and throws it at his head again, and then walks away. He goes up the stairs to the upper level, takes a kitchen knife as he's staggering by because he's like in a fit of rage, and he comes out to the party. You want to take it from here?
Oh, gee, I'm trying to remember. Well, it erupts in some pretty serious, pretty crazy violence. A lot happens pretty quick. Let's see. Does a little kid get stabbed?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
What we had here was the husband of the dead woman has this kitchen knife. And he comes out here and he sees that the sister, who was the tutor, was out there with the cake for the little boy.
That's right. Yeah.
And so then he's rushing past the crowd to stab her with the kitchen knife. He stabs her in the chest, and you could tell by all the blood loss this was like a fatal wound.
Yeah,
and she's sitting there gasping, trying to come to grips with things. Her parents are horrified, and they have to decide, look, we got to break out of our roles here. This is our child, So the father is with the homeowner father, and they were going to jump out dressed up like Native Americans to surprise a little boy and all this kind of stuff. Well, he's like, to hell with that. I'm going to go try and save my daughter. He does. But as this is going on, the mother sees this and she jumps and she starts to attack the man, and the man's got the knife and he's swinging at her, and they get into a tussle, and the husband, the father of the girl who was stabbed, is trying to get to them, and there's this big tussle or whatnot, and the daughter is laying there dying. And as this is happening, the son sees the man, the dead woman's husband, and his mother had talked to them about an incident that happened that traumatized him. That's why he needed art therapy and stuff. And what happened, he moved in there and he said he saw a ghost. What he saw was the housekeeper's husband coming up the stairs, right, yeah. And it scared him. So when he saw him again, the boy had another seizure. He just his eyes rolled up in the back of his head, and they said that they had to get him to the hospital in 15 minutes or, he could suffer brain damage or whatnot. So the father of the boy, the house owner, was like, give me the keys, yelling that to the driver. And the driver was like, do I toss him the keys? My daughter, he's like, come on, we got to go. And he was going to leave his daughter to die because he wanted to save his son.
Right.
So
totally oblivious that that's what's going on. But yes, that is what's going on. Yeah.
Right. And then the driver decides, okay, well, I'm going to throw you the keys. He throws him the keys. And as he's leaving, the driver is enraged with the fact of that he had belittled him in certain points throughout the film, but he was more concerned about his son than, telling him he needed to leave his daughter, even though he didn't know that was the man's daughter or whatnot. Right. He took the knife and killed the homeowner.
Right.
Stabbed him just like his daughter had been killed. And
which was that was the most senseless killing, but it was also of the moment. I think he just needed to act.
Right. Right. And that had been a joke between them, that he didn't act a lot, when it came to doing stuff. He kind of just followed along. He didn't have a plan, He was very spontaneous. So that was a theme with his character. And
Yes.
yes, I agree. When I saw him kill him, I was like, why did he kill this man like that? But he was caught up in the heat of the moment. That was the one thing, those were the two things, the daughter's death and him killing the homeowner, that I saw were like, wow, I really didn't want that to happen.
Yes.
Although I didn't want anyone to die, I knew that there were going to be some deaths. This was just too much of a dangerous situation, a dangerous game they were playing. But at any rate, the driver, he disappears, and the police are looking for him. They can't find him anywhere. It's like he just up and vanished in thin air. The mother and the mother and the son, they go to court. They get charged with all these things, but since they were first-time offenders or whatnot, they got probation, which I thought that was kind of a stretch, given all the stuff that they had caused to happen. I was expecting somebody to go away for some years, but they ended up getting probation. They ended up moving back into what looked like their old house, and trying to move on with the absence of the father and the sister being dead. So before that, let me backtrack. The son woke up in the hospital and he could stop laughing. He had a brain injury or whatnot.
Were you surprised he lived?
That's what I was going to say next.
Yeah.
Because when you see him get hit with the rock by the man coming up from the sub basement, it pretty much, there was enough blood to where he should have been dead. And then to get hit, then he threw the rock at him again and hit him. And you could see his hand just twitching. I thought for sure he was dead. And so when he came back, and it was like, wow, he survived that. And I'm glad that they had him laughing all the time, that he had some kind of brain damage, because there's no way that you're not going to have sustained some brain damage from being hit. I mean,
but didn't that eventually go away too? Because that was the thing. By the end, he seemed fairly normal, which.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, he should have been kind of like partially paralyzed. Yeah. Something more significant should have happened to him. That was one of the flaws in this. I still rate it 5 towers because of everything else, but this isn't a perfect film, and it didn't get 5 towers from me because it's perfect. It got, and I explained why, but these are some of the inconsistencies that this film suffers from. It doesn't detract from the film as a whole to make it where you don't like it because, of these things, but it does leave you scratching your head.
Yeah, and yeah, you took it where I wanted to take it. I gave it 4.5. That was one of them. And then the next thing that happens, let's just try and summarize. You get the idea that the son has a plan to make some money, don't we all? Somehow he's going to get rich and he's going to buy that house, and then that's when the father will eventually be able to come up from the bottom rooms where he's hiding out.
Well, something that should be mentioned, the woman, the original housekeeper's husband, had been communicating with the little boy using Morse code, because the little boy was in the Scouts. He was in the Boy Scouts briefly. Right. And so he knew Morse code. So he had been communicating with the little boy, and he had been trying to tell the little boy, who was trying to decipher this, and they never revisited this, where the little boy never said anything about these flashing lights.
Flashing lights.
There was down in the sub basement, there was a button that the original housekeeper's husband would hit, and it would make the lights flash. And he was doing, the dashes and beeps or whatnot in Morse code to spell out something.
Yes.
So for some reason, after all had been said and done, and the brother and the mother went on and they got their probation and moved back in their house and they're going on with their lives, the brother decided he wanted to go back to the mountains and look at the house. And he did. And when he did, he saw that when the lights went out, because there's another couple that moved in, that he saw the lights flashing, and he recognized it as Morse code, and he deciphered it that it was his father. He didn't vanish. He went down in that sub basement. He's been living down there, which was funny because earlier on, as I was watching this film, I thought that they were going to end up killing that the couple, the original housekeeper and her husband, and they were going to end up having to live down in the lower level. I was thinking that was where this was going, but it didn't quite go that way, but not for all of them. So anyways, he deciphers this, and that's when he's like dreaming, saying, I'm going to make money and I'm going to buy that house, and then you're going to be able to walk up out of that basement, and then we'll be a family again.
Which kind of ties, you had said something I'd forgotten earlier in this conversation, that the architect had originally lived in the house, and that's how the housekeeper came up. This almost goes full circle if that's what ends up happening, where if they buy the house and then the father can come up, it's like the room remains a secret. Where was I going with that? But basically it's like the owners of the house kind of didn't know about the secret room, but some of them did, and it ends up working into their plans. And well, maybe I should have thought that out a bit more. But speaking of thinking things out a bit more, you mentioned one thing that kind of bugged me. The other thing was the message and the content of the message, and the idea that this guy, was that like a 1.5-page note the guy tapped out supposedly every night hoping someone would see it? I don't want to come down too hard on the story, but I mean, the question is asked, why did I give it 4.5 stars versus 5? I some of the stuff at the end comes at you so quick, and there's so much that you have to take in. There were just a couple of things I thought kind of crossed believability, and this idea that the father sent this message off every single night. I mean, how long could it have taken? Because that was a long message, It was a good 1.5-page note, if I remember, that he reads back.
But then he didn't have anywhere to go, so.
Yeah, but the father didn't know. Well, yeah.
The father didn't have anywhere. He didn't have anything else to do, so.
Yeah. It seemed like a lot. I kind of wish that maybe there was a simpler way for the father to have gotten the message out, but I don't want to get too much into that, because it would sound like I'm tearing the movie up. I really, really did enjoy it. These are all quibbles on my part. I thought there was some stuff at the end that, in the way to kind of wrap everything up neatly, there was a couple of things I would call contrived. But all in all, it was a heck of a movie, a unique movie, and I think a significant movie. And I'm curious if this series ends up taking off, what they plan to do with that, because there's so much you could do, and yet I would be a bit skeptical. I'm glad to see the director and original writer is a part of it, but what that's going to look like, I have no idea.
I don't think anyone does. I'm wondering if even the producers at this point have any idea. But like you said, it will be interesting to see which direction this goes in. And if it is in the setting of an anthology series, much like the American Horror Story, then I could buy into that more
Sure.
than it just being an adaptation, an Americanized adaptation of this film, which I think this film stands on its own and is of its own merit a wonderful film. And I say I stand behind my 5 towers, even though you brought up some of the same things that I was thinking about, the things that bothered me about the film. For me, the other things made up for that. So I was like, okay, well, I had to think of how this film made me feel at the end of watching it and overall. And that's an overall assessment for me.
And you know, I could easily have gone 5, and I think I am looking forward to rewatching it a couple more times, and maybe some of these questions I have will click. You know, you watch a movie once. We literally, you finished it up this afternoon. I watched it a couple days ago. It's really fresh right now. Sometimes you take a little time, and these things make more sense as you revisit a film. I've certainly have lots and lots of movies I've watched multiple times where my feelings on them change considerably, but this is definitely one I think I'm going to find it's worth revisiting. I think I'm going to get more out of it when I rewatch it, so I'm looking forward to that.
I will be rewatching it too, because I want to watch it with my fiance, because I think she may enjoy it even though it's subtitled. Just the content of it, I would like to get her take on that too. So that'll be another excuse for me to watch it again. I think that kind of wraps things up. I think we've pretty much gone through this film and all its nuances. And what I would say as the end segment for this is that I do recommend it. Obviously, I gave it 5 towers, so I do recommend this film to our viewers. Go out, check it out. If you've got Hulu, it's on there, no additional fees. If you don't have Hulu, get Hulu on a trial basis, watch it, and then cancel it. It's worth it. I mean, just check the film out. There's resources. There's resources. Yes.
You know what? And I'm thinking about the Academy Awards, and I'm thinking about, between Netflix and Hulu and a couple other services, more of the Movie of the Year nominees have been available to me than recently. I have seen Marriage Story. I've seen The Two Popes. I have not seen The Irishman, but that is way high on my to-do list. There's a few others that are already available. And the point being is Parasite is head and shoulders the best of the ones I have watched easily. And I enjoyed Marriage Story, and I enjoyed The Two Popes. They were good movies, but this one was much, much better. So I have a feeling if I do get to watch all the nominees, I'm going to end up feeling like, yeah, it totally deserved every gold statue it got. So
absolutely. So that wraps up our review of Parasite. Do you have anything else you want to add, RJ? Anything about any upcoming projects or things that you might want to add?
Ooh, well, we all know what we're going through with the self-isolation, and it's been some tough days. It's been some long days, but you know, I am slowly getting some writing done, and I'm happy about that. I think we're all in a state where we have to be happy with whatever little successes we can eke out from day to day, but it's a slog.
Yes, most definitely.
A bit rough. It's a bit rough for me right now. So I really enjoyed having this little excursion out of the norm to talk movies with you, and look forward to the next time. How about you?
Same here. Just trying to get through things, dealing with this new normal. Hopefully it's a temporary new normal, but you know, it is what we have at this point.
Right.
And I've been getting some writing done, although very little. I've really been trying to focus on getting on a schedule of things, and that's been kind of tough with this stay home order where we are, and just dealing with the threat of this pandemic as it is as a whole. So how it's affecting people, and how it's affecting people close to us, and dealing with their struggles and other personal struggles that we're dealing with in our own. So all of that being said, if you would like to learn more about myself, RJ and myself, with regards to our writing, you can visit our websites, which are located underneath our names on this video. And that's www.johnfallenauthor.com for me.
rjsullivanfiction.com.
Well, we want to thank our viewers for tuning in, and we hope that you enjoyed our review of the film Parasite. Go out, you have our recommendation to go out, check this film out, and we hope you enjoy it. Please leave any comments you have about this show, and even after you've seen the film, about the film, in the comments below. We would love to hear from you guys and see what you think and what worked for you, what did not work for you, if you agree with us or if you don't agree with what we said, how you feel about things. We value your opinion just as we hope you value ours. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Take care.
The Two Towers Talk Show is a network partner and partially sponsored by Nerddom United, a company whose goal is to create and provide materials for nerds around the world. They support all things nerdy, from anime, comics, gaming, manga, movies, TV, and more. Nerddom United's goal is to provide a platform for nerds to be involved with what they love and to create a safe space for nerds to passionately pursue and grow their creative endeavors. Be sure to check them out on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks.
The Two Towers Talk Show is sponsored in part by Showtime Cinema in Mooresville, Indiana. Their friendly staff is always willing to go the extra mile to make your movie-going experience an enjoyable and memorable one. Enjoy the comfort of their new cushioned seating in their spacious auditoriums, and while you're there, be sure to stop by the concession stand and purchase some popcorn where real butter topping is an option. They're located at 300 South Bridge Street in Mooresville, Indiana. We hope to see you at the movies.